All right. Welcome everyone to the Veramo Community call, where we chat about what's going on in the Veramo community and of course, all the great work that members of our community are doing both inside and outside Veramo. So as usual, we will be going through our agenda where we will have some community and technical updates first. After which we would have a session by the Blockchain Lab UM team. And thankfully, they're already here with us. Thank you so much for joining. And at the end of, towards the end of the call, we are going to be having an open discussion and Q&A session where everyone is free to share updates on what you're working on, recent deep dives, experiments that you're currently running, or ask any question relating to either the session or relating to Veramo or relating to identity in general. So first of all, I'm going to quickly go through the community updates. This time last month, a lot of people were at the Consensus by CoinDesk event, which was the reason our community call didn't hold, because I think a lot of people were there. Was anyone here at the event, the Consensus by CoinDesk event last month? Anyone? Oh, no one. I was thinking a lot of people, okay, well, maybe not us, but I know it was a pretty large event. A lot of people within the Web3 ecosystem were there. And of course, next month, still on the event side, Mercia and Simon will be at the, I think, Identity on Conference, right, Mercia? In Europe. Yeah, it's happening on June, I think June 7th to 11th or thereabouts, June 7th to 9th. I don't know the exact date. Is anyone going for that as well?
Are you guys going to do Zurich? Hey.
Yeah, you're going as well, Alex?
I'm not, unfortunately, no. I was thinking about it, but no, I can make it.
Yeah, so are there like events happening in the nearest future that anyone is attending? Let's know if it's something we can keep in our radar as well. So if you know there are events you would probably attend in the next couple of months, please, you can share with us in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and let us know. So I'm going to move forward and give the floor to Mercia to give us the technical updates. So over to you, Mercia.
Hey, folks. Yeah, so we have a bunch of upcoming changes in Veramo itself. The latest thing that was added is a key value store option for that Veramo plugins can use. And this was added by our friends at Perion, who are preparing to add presentation exchange implementation as well. And they needed something like this to help them with that plugin. But this is usable by a lot of other situations. And internally, we're working on an upgrade to our DIDCOM implementation. We realized that there's a gap in the crypto algorithms used for packing messages between our implementation and the spec, and we're trying to align that with the latest draft of the spec. So look out for that. This is going to require some changes in some like lower level libraries as well, which is where much of the work is actually happening. But it's going to be bubbling up to Veramo as well. And since our last call, we had a feature release in Veramo itself. There was an active verification bug for ED25519 signature 2020 stuff. And also some bugs regarding context and like database migrations on Android, which were fixed. And we also had we now have a partial implementation for DidPeer, supporting 2 of the 3 num algos in the DidPeer stack, and a cleaner way of creating DidKey starting from a non-private key. These were contributed by our friends at Root IT and, of course, Masca / Blockchain Lab UM. So thank you all for that. That's it for me. Thanks.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Mercia. I'm going to call in the Masca team for their demo. Masca is, I don't know if I should refer you guys to as Masca team now or as Blockchain Lab team. So the folks at Blockchain Lab built Masca, which is a Metamask Snap for decentralized identities. And I think it's a cool thing that they've built. So they're going to be sharing with us like a demo of how it works and any other thing that they would want to share about how Masca works. So Vid and team, I hope you guys are ready.
Yeah, I think we are ready.
All right.
Yeah, you can call us by Masca. I guess it's easier to pronounce that Blockchain Lab so. Maybe I can ask, should we do first the demo or the presentation? What would be better?
Yeah, you can begin with the presentation and then wrap it up with the demo. I think that's.
So I prepared a short presentation. Can you see the presentation screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so we are developing the MetaMask Snap for decentralized identity. So we just renamed the project from SSI Snap to Masca. We found out that like it's like in the identity space, it's a little bit confusion because some people are using decentralized identity and then some people are using self-sovereign identity. And it kind of, the SSI is not so familiar with many people. So we just decided to go with a completely different name. So I will just keep the first two slides because I think that we are all familiar with decentralized identity in this call. So I will just start with explaining what's Masca. So it's like the wallet for decentralized identity. It's a MetaMask Snap extension for MetaMask. And the goal for this extension is that it provides abstraction of decentralized identity for identifiers and data for web developers. Which means that like each dApp doesn't have to develop and write all the identity specific logic in their applications, but they can use the simple RPC methods that are available in the MetaMask. So for example, if you are using verifiable credentials in your application and you want to retrieve them on the front end, you don't have to have logic for different storage solutions or for different DIT methods. You can just call the RPC methods of Masca, which makes it much more easier and sustainable for the web developers to use identity in their applications. So we are trying to support Web3 use cases and the traditional digital identity use cases. So we are based in the European Union. So the European Union is also trying to work on this, on digital identity, and they are working on the same tech stack. So they are working with DIDs and verifiable credentials. So we are trying to support that as well. And we also developed the web interface that we are going to show, where you can see all the credentials you have in your wallet. And you can also create some testing verifiable presentations from verifiable credentials with different signatures, with different proof formats. And you can also switch these methods and just play around with the Masca. So Masca is currently available in the MetaMask Flask. So this is the development version of MetaMask. So we have to follow the MetaMask development here. So they are planning to put snaps in the main browser extension in September. So hopefully in September you will be able to use Masca with the main MetaMask extension. And then the snaps are going to come to mobile as well. So it will be, you will be able to have the credentials on your mobile and use them on your mobile as well. So here is like the architecture that we have. So application can just call the RPC methods like set verifiable credential, get verifiable credential, create verifiable presentation, and things like that. And then we have MetaMask with Masca. So basically it's running inside MetaMask in its own environment. It's like sandboxed environment. So basically, each snap is their own environment in MetaMask. So if one snap has like a bug, it doesn't affect other snaps. And I also put the Veramo logo here. So we are using Veramo for the identity part. So I imagine Veramo as like the orchestrator for the Masca. So each DIT method that we support, we are using Veramo plugins. So basically we are constructing the Veramo agent and using that, and it simplifies a lot of things for us. And like for the DIT methods, like it's similar with the storage. We developed our own storage, let's say plugin for the Snap storage. So you can store the verifiable credentials inside the extension. And we also support ceramic storage, so you can also store the credentials there. So it's easier to back up credentials if you use MetaMask on another device. And for the DIT methods and for the signatures, we are using the same keys as they are in the MetaMask. So if you go to another computer, you can import the same seed phrase and you will have the same DIT identifiers and DITs and keys on the different computer. And currently we are working on supporting the OpenID Connect inside the Masca. Like there are some challenges there, but we plan to have this support in June. And then we are probably also going to support DITCOM as well, but it's going to take some more time. So basically for the cryptographic keys, we are using the SecP keys at the moment, which are also used in the Ethereum. So the snaps provides the option to derive the keys. So basically you can never access the seed phrase in the snaps environment, but you can derive the private keys from the seed phrase in the snaps. So MetaMask currently enables the derivation for SecP keys and ED keys. But currently we are only using the SecP keys at the moment. We have 4 DIT methods supported. We are also working with DIT with a check team who is also working with Veramo, and they have their own plugin for the DIT method. So we have 2 storage solutions currently supported and 3 proof formats, and we are working on the OpenID Connect. So we have like the demo application for the Masca, which we will showcase later. And we also have like the Solidity course application where you can get your first verifiable credential and store it in the Masca. And we also did a demo for the snapshot where we extended the strategy for the governance where you can vote with verifiable credentials. So basically, instead of using tokens for voting, we implemented the strategy that you have to have certain credential. And when you present this credential, you are able to vote. So for each vote that is stored on the IPFS, you are actually also storing the verifiable presentation there. So when you verify the votes, you can see that the user had the correct verifiable credential. So we have our documentation page where you can see how the integration of Masca works. Here is like the dummy example how to use that. So it's much easier to get verifiable credentials, even like from Ceramic or like for each storage that you have configured in Masca. So you can use the Masca connector library for that. Then you have to enable Masca, and then you can just with some functions you can retrieve the verifiable credentials or create verifiable presentation and all the identity related stuff. So I mentioned some of the things already, but we are also trying to support selective disclosure. At the moment, we are looking into like the selective disclosure for JSON Web Tokens, because you don't have to have some specific cryptographic keys for like the more advanced elliptic curves, which are currently hard to get using the snaps RPC methods. And we are also looking into snaps user interface. So when the user, so basically the DAB will be able to query verifiable credentials from Masca, and then the user will be able to select the correct credential using the special user interface inside the snaps. And we plan to continue use Veramo for identity because like it's a good framework, and it's like the community is great because if someone supports like one Git method, we can then use it in Masca without like a lot of effort. So it has many advantages. And here are some of the links if anyone wants to check it out. And that's it from my side, and Tadej is going to show a demo of the Masca application.
Yes. So, hi everyone. Let me just share my screen. So here we have our DApp, which is basically a configuration application for Masca, where you can play around with different settings. And as Vid stated before, you need to have MetaMask Flask installed as the only enabled. So we can connect our wallet, and on first installation, it's gonna ask you to install the snap into MetaMask. Just some permissions. And after that's all done, we can get on with using Masca. So our other demo application that you can use to get your first credential is the Solidity course that Vid mentioned. Here again, we can connect with MetaMask, and it's just a simple question. Yes, we can get our VC that is stored in Masca. And now if we go to our DApp, we can load VCs from Masca. And here you can see that we can see the credential. Now, if we expand this, you can see that this credential is stored in the snap directly, but we have options to also save it to Ceramic.
So where's the credential actually stored now?
At first, it's stored directly in Snap, so it's inside the MetaMask extension.
So is that like
which
local
is
storage?
The storage solution that we implemented inside the Snap. So it's.
So is that like browser storage? So is it locally on the browser? Sorry, I'm not familiar with the Snap API.
It's stored
it's
locally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Inside the Snap. And now it's also stored on Ceramic. We can see also the JSON version of the credential. You can also download it, share it, or delete it from all of the storage solutions, or just remove it from Ceramic. So we can select multiple VCs in the case that we have more than one. In my case, just one, and we can create verifiable presentations using different. And then we can generate the presentation. So right now we only have the presentation available to copy. But in the future, we plan to have integrations where you can just share the verifiable presentation or use it in another application. I think my internet is kind of slow, so I apologize. Just gonna refresh.
No problem.
Don't worry. I have a couple of questions in the meantime.
Yes.
Keeping credentials in a Snap storage means that when you request credentials from the storage, you're going to have to approve config in MetaMask.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Yeah, so keeping credentials in Snap storage, does that mean that when you request credentials from the storage, you have to approve something in Metamask?
Yes.
Okay. And when you keep it credential both in Snap storage and Ceramic, then does that mean that you no longer have to approve that? You just like have it available through the Ceramic storage?
Yes,
mean-
but Vid, go ahead.
Yeah, it's like you don't have to have MetaMask pop-up. It's like you can disable this in settings. But it's
see.
like one thing is user experience and the other thing is like security. Like from the user experience, it would be easier to not have a pop-up, but then that could just retrieve any credentials, so it's better to have a pop-up. So it's like we made this configurable for in the settings.
I see. Yeah, I was thinking about various authorization options for like retrieving data from like Veramo based storage, and I'm trying to explore some user experience ideas here, and that's why I'm asking about it. I guess one option would be to have a pop-up once saying that I allow this dApp to retrieve credentials from my store or something like that, and then essentially, which would essentially generate the signature. But I'm not exactly sure if that's possible with the current Snaps API.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we were thinking of was like having to have a tag or like for each credential, and then like each credentials could be associated with certain tags or apps that can access these credentials, and then it would be maybe easier than like, because like on each storage you can have credentials from different apps. So
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, if you're open to like more open brainstorming sessions about this, I'd be happy to join such a thing.
yeah, happy to.
Okay, so I managed to generate a verifiable presentation. Sorry. And we can copy this and basically use it since right now we don't have any integrations that can use the verifiable presentation directly from Snap. Yeah, we have settings for Ceramic. This is not for specific VCs, but just in general, enabling Ceramic is an option for users that don't want it. And here you can change DID methods, which also need to be approved through a pop-up. And as you can see, it's switched to DID key. And I think that for now, that is most of the functionality. And of course, you can filter different storage solutions or search VCs using different fields. And we have an option to import VCs using the JSON format and stuff like that. So I think that's all for the presentation, for the demo. I don't know if I forgot anything. You can also go to the universal resolver to check the DIDs that are in the VC. Yes, I crashed again. I'm sorry. I'm gonna try to switch to a different internet.
Yeah, but I think that we showed all the functionalities we have at the moment. But yeah, so the dApp is available at masca.io. So if anyone wants to play around with it, it should work. If you find any bug, we are happy to fix it.
Awesome. So thank you very much, Vid and Tadej, for the presentation and demo. Do we have any question, comments, feedback?
Oh,
I have
one
a
question.
question.
Go ahead.
Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, so my question was like, so how do you guys do like key management? Do you guys just keep like the index of the path for the keys that you generate from like the key derivation process? Or yeah, how is that? Do you compute like new keys on the fly, or like how does that work? Where do you store it?
So we are at the moment deriving the keys from the seed phrase. We are currently using the same chain ID as for the Ethereum. You can use basically any chain ID you want. So for like deep methods that is like checked, that is using Cosmos keys, we are planning to use the Cosmos chain ID. But so basically the keys are derived from the MetaMask seed phrase.
Got it. And then you just store the metadata of like whatever you derive.
Yeah.
Because like if you wanted to move from like my Brave browser to my Chrome browser, one of the credentials. Oh, I can do that with Veramo.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is that like for each, when you call each RPC method, so at the beginning of the call, you retrieve the keys, and after the call ends, the keys are wiped from the memory, so we don't store the keys anywhere inside the snap. We only use them for one RPC call.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask if there were any difficulties integrating Veramo into a snap, or like if you had trouble with like dependencies or some of the packages or something like that, because that's always something we're looking out for. We know that's the toughest situation to find yourself in.
So mostly no, but the only issue we had was with some dependencies using the DID key provider. I think that the transmute libraries that are used for resolving the DIDs are not secure enough, because we're getting the some build errors when trying to use it. So for now, we had to build around that and just provide a separate resolve function that we're using. But otherwise, I think all of the providers that we tried were okay.
Okay, that's good to know. Well, if you find alternative implementations for these resolvers, we're welcome to take a look at them and for Veramo as well. Like as a general rule, we try to use what's out there already and not implement things internally, because it would just like grow the code base needlessly. So that's why we try to use as many existing implementations as possible. But if new ones appear or better ones, then yeah, we're welcome to. You're welcome to suggest them.
Okay, so I had a question. In the presentation, you mentioned that you're planning to support or implement DITCOM. How do you think about that? And I mean, what's the plan there? I'm asking because I'm working on this right now in some of the projects that we're working on. So I'm curious to know.
So basically, Martin is currently working on OpenID Connect. So basically, our goal here is to. So basically, OpenID Connect usually starts with scanning the QR code, which we can't do at the moment because like the snaps are not available on the mobile. So basically, how we are doing with OpenID Connect is like we are copying the content of the QR code inside the dApp, and then the dApp and then we have another RPC method in the Masca that handles the OpenID for you. So basically, it connects to the server and retrieves the verifiable credential. So for the DITCOM, we didn't put a lot of thought yet. We planned to support OpenID Connect first, but maybe I mean, like in the DITCOM, it's like similar with invitations, if I remember correctly. But like, yeah, we don't have like the detailed plan yet. So.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Do we have any other questions? It's also, we have a couple of minutes left. Just like 7 minutes left. So yeah, Alex have a comment for you guys in the chat. So this is also like time for open discussions. If there are things you're working on or deep dives, things you've read that you'd want to share, or just an introduction about you or what you're working on. I am particularly curious to know about Warren because this is the first time I'm seeing him join our call. So Warren, if you don't mind, you can unmute and just give a brief introduction and maybe share what you're working on or anything at all you'd like to share. Not mandatory, just yeah. So do you have any open discussions, things that you'd want us to know before we wrap up?
Yeah, so I can introduce myself. My name is Warren. I'm a lead developer at a company called Affinity Quest. We're based in Ottawa, Canada, and we're doing decentralized identity work for both governments and commercial things. We work with a number of technologies, including Microsoft Entra Verified ID and Aries, Cloud Agent Python, and Aries framework JavaScript, and a plethora of other things. And so we've recently started exploring Veramo as another tool in the toolkit. And we were able to get, a basic, like a very, very basic demo up and running in React Native. As soon as we started to pull in any other dependencies, things went sideways in a hurry, and we're struggling with just dependency hell in React Native. Like we tried to pull in a did ion dependency, and all of a sudden things just blew up in a spectacular way, and we've been chasing bug after bug after bug related to that. So we haven't made a ton of progress on that, but we're intrigued and just kind of tracking along to see how things go. We're interested in a lot of the stuff that's happening with OpenID for VC, and as well as DITCOM and various formats. So JWT and JSON LD and on-creds and flavor of the day. So that's it.
Sounds
Thanks,
wonderful.
Warren. Yeah. But yeah,
Thanks for sharing. I have a few pointers about this quest. Yeah. So first of all, the folks at Therion, I know that they are working with Vidion in React Native, so you might want to take a look at their stack. It's also based on Veramo, and they are frequent posters in our Discord as well. And there are some Aries protocol implementations for Veramo provided by the Spherity team. I'm not exactly sure where they are hosted, but I'm sure there's a mention of it in our Discord as well. So just looking through the history should pop some stuff up for you there. So yeah, nice to have you.
Thanks.
Yeah, nice to have you, Warren. Do we have any other thing to chip in before we call it a day?
Well, I guess I have a question. You mentioned earlier in the call some of the things that are coming up, KV Store plugin and something about the Spherion presentation exchange, which I guess was just a side that it was dependent on this KV Store work. the DIDCOM work. So is there a roadmap at this point that kind of lays out a timeline for things, or is it very, at this point, just we do what we can do in the time we can do it, and which is fine, by the way, but I'm just trying to get a feel, if you have one, for kind of where things are going and in what time horizon.
Yeah, regarding the presentation exchange, we're depending on Serion to provide that. They already have an implementation for it, but they want to push it upstream to Veramo. So yeah, they kind of decide on the timeline there. And regarding our own roadmap, I guess we're reorganizing internally like how we want to proceed and what we want to pursue next for Veramo itself. But the main feature remains that we are going into a community-driven direction. So we want more and more contributions from the community and more ownership by the community for this framework. So we're trying to work with some organizations to take ownership, either partial or full ownership of the Veramo code base itself, and to get a bit more eyes on it from like standards implementers and protocol implementers and stuff like that. So and yeah, so we don't really have like a classical roadmap that you can look into, but the stuff that was mentioned in the beginning of the call, I get that like weeks or mostly a couple of months away, I'd say. The KB store is already there, and the DIDCOM stuff is, I guess, a couple of weeks stuff away from being implemented. It's also sort of like dependency hell trying to implement this stuff, because like Veramo itself tries to work in lots of JavaScript environments. It's like the core, at least, has to work in like web, Node.js, React Native, and all of that. And we try to keep the plugins as well, the ones that we provide from the code base at the same kind of like compatibility level. But then it means that there are a lot of things that we cannot add to the main code base. So we have to rely on platform-specific plugin implementations or something like that. And this is probably what you might need for DID. I'm not exactly sure how, like, like exactly what corner you're painted into right now, but it's yeah, I know how difficult it can be to work on React Native in terms of dependency management. Yeah,
Okay.
I hope this
Great.
answers some of your questions.
No, that's great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I don't want to monopolize things, but I do have a few other questions, and they can be things that are deferred to another call or go on Discord or whatever. But
fine, I think we still have some time.
Okay. Another thing I'm curious about is Veramo itself is like kind of how you're structured and how you're able to like do this work, right? So and really the question is more about the how safe is the project to get involved in, given that you guys are at the middle of it. So just kind of understanding where you're, like, how you are funded and what your priorities are and stuff. That may be a bigger question than you wish to answer. And as to the problems that we've run into, I think the latest one is a complaint about database migrations not working in React Native when, after we added this Serion plugin, and it's saying that there's no JavaScript timestamp on the end of the class name or whatever, but it's clearly there. So I don't know what's going on. We're struggling with that. But anyways, be that as it may, we'll keep plowing through, I guess.
Okay, so for the support questions, I guess Discord is maybe a better channel to discuss these things.
Sure.
We might have some pointers there. And regarding the funding, so the Veramo itself is a project started by like funded by Consensus Mesh. It's a continuation of the UPort project, if you're familiar with that from like earlier HSI Web3 days, I guess. Yeah, going forward, I guess we're going to continue to be funded by Consensus Mesh mainly, but we're also looking for other funding opportunities as well. I guess like Nick here on the call can jump in and give us more details on that. Yeah.
Yeah, we're hoping to be able to announce something kind of exciting on this front in the next couple of weeks. So maybe just keep an eye out for that kind of announcement. But the short story is we are going to continue being funded by Consensus Mesh. This project is not in danger of dying anytime soon. But like Mircea mentioned, we are trying to get as much of it sort of transferred to the community as possible and have the community help out as much as possible. And hopefully we're going to be able to run more bounty rounds and hackathons surrounding that to get the community more involved. But ultimately it will still be funded by Consensus Mesh and continue to be supported in that way.
Great, thanks.
Cool. Thanks, Marcia and Nick, and Warren, of course, for popping up the questions. So I don't think there is any other thing. Anybody want to chip in something in the next 1 minute before we end the call? Okay, so in the absence of more suggestions, questions, feedback, let's all meet in the Discord if you have any other questions or afterthoughts. And yeah, thank you all so much for joining, and thank you all for being members of our community and for your contributions as well. Thank you all so much, and to enjoy the rest of your day. Oh, I forgot. Thank you also to the Blockchain Lab team for making it our call today. And thank you so much for the presentations as well. All right, so bye everyone.